Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 65 of the 40K Badcast. My name is Dan Boyd, and I'm joined, as always, by the legendary occurrence during the Revolutionary War, Boston McTea Party. Boston, how are you doing?
I feel so at home now. You know, I've been having a rather not great period of time lately, but you've just brought me right back up there. I'm ready to start throwing some shit in the harbor. I would have done that unprompted, but now I have a good reason to.
All right. That was a good one. It took me a really long time to find the word occurrence.
I really hope you don't edit out the incredibly pregnant pause you've got there.
I think I'm going to cut it down probably by half. Because, oh boy, I'm looking at the waveform on this one, and it's not good.
It'll only be about 10 seconds.
As we say on the 40K Badcast, it's not a good.
It's a no good.
Okay, so let's get into it, man, to the Auspex, because this is going to be a long Auspex, so strap in, fuckos. Here we go, hobby progress. Okay, so I finished off the Amble, the dreaded Amble.
Hell yeah.
And I got to say, man, starting with this model, the initial base coats and everything, I was not a fan of the model. I was not enjoying it. And then, like it happens on every project I do, I get to the point of where I'm actually putting washes on the models. And I'm like, oh shit, this model rules. This paint job is awesome. So I finished this thing, and this might be the best paint job I've ever done on a single miniature.
Righteous. I'm happy to hear that, man.
It's on my Twitter. If you guys want to see that, that's at DB_sleazy. And I'm really, really proud of it. I used a bunch of colors that I don't normally use, such as oranges, some light blues, the gray blue kind of color, and then sort of that dark teal.
Yeah.
It's
a very moody color palette.
I don't usually get into those whatsoever, but I really, really think I nailed it on this one. And I'm very, very happy with the result. So I finished building all of my Aeronautica Imperialis planes.
Imperial and Orc?
Yes. I have a lot more Orc than Imperial, but they're all built now.
Nice.
So I'm in the Adepticon crunch now. It's not going to be that bad of a crunch, but I still have to get a lot of stuff done before this con kicks off. So I have 3 Dakka jets. I have 6 Fight-A-Bombers.
Wow.
I'm gonna do 2 lists because I don't know if Dakka jets are any good. I have a sneaking suspicion that they're not.
I think they're overcosted.
So I might do the list with no Dakka jets. So drop the 3 Dakka jets and add 2 Fight-A-Bombers, basically.
Righteous.
So I'm doing 2 lists here. So 3 Dakka jets, 6 Fight-A-Bombers, 2 Grot bombers.
Hell yeah.
And 8 Grot bombs, which I had to buy an entire second box of Grot bombers to get the second group of 4 Grot bombs that I would need to play this game. So that was $45 for 4 Grot bombs.
So do you just have 2 extra Grot bombers, nothing to do with them now?
I do.
Ooh, neat. I'm not offering to take those off your hands. Because, I think my genius brain idea would be like, okay, if you want to convert up some extra Grot bombs, you get the big bombs from the Heavy Bomber kit, or even big bombs that come with the Fight-A-Bomber, and drill a big hole in them to put them on a flight stand, and then cut down an epic Grot, which you just have those lying around, right? Just a bunch of epic Gretchen, and just jam that on top of there, and you've basically got a Grot bomb.
True, yes. I'm sure there's ways I could get around it, but I didn't. So I just bought a second kit.
Nice.
So fuck me, right? All right.
Yeah.
Cool. So I started work on all of the bases for my Aeronautica planes.
Oh, cool. Are you following a guide or just freeballing it?
So I saw on our Something Awful Goon Discord, somebody put out some really nice Aeronautica bases, and it was this guy Trevor, who I know because he lives here in the DC area.
Oh, nice.
And so I contacted him and I was like, hey man, can you tell me how you did these? And he was like, oh, I used an airbrush, I did this and that. And I was like, well, how much do you want to do my bases for me? And he was like, let's not do that, but why don't you come over one day and we'll have like a little painting day. So
Nice.
I was like, yeah, fuck yeah. So I went over to Trevor's house, and Trevor and Dan, who are a couple goons that go to Nova Open and they're on the Discord with us, they helped me paint these bases with the airbrush. So it's sort of like a half green and half red gradient going towards the front and the back. And then I'm painting the metallic parts, which I'm doing in silver and gold by myself. And then I'm going to do a little washes and just varnish them, and they're going to look fantastic. Much better than the unadorned gray plastic that is on the bottom of every GW model.
Yeah, I saw somebody posting in an Aeronautica group on Facebook that like they're going to some game event for Aeronautica, and they're like, "Do you have to paint the bases?" And I just wrote, "Heavy Metal doesn't. If it's good enough for them, it's good enough for you."
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, it's not good enough for me.
Likewise.
It's like some people go way hard on their bases and make like little dioramas for each one.
I kind of wish I did that with mine. I painted the ones for my Imperials in it's basically the same scheme you described, but using a hand and hand paints and just a regular rattle can, which I detailed on a Goonhammer tutorial if anyone feels like looking that up. But yeah, sorry, I'm hijacking your hobby progress. Please go back to talking about your bases.
Right. Well, they're almost done, and this actually has cut probably a whole double handful of hours off of my prep for Adepticon. So I'm very, very happy with that. And I'm going to get them done by the end of this week. And then I can start working on my Baja Blasters, the Elven Union Blood Bowl team that I'm doing for Adepticon. So I built these guys and I primed them. And then I had Dan, who is using the airbrush over at Trevor's place, spray the bases black with the airbrush. Because as we all know, black base rims are mandatory, and
no accounting for black taste, I guess.
And I did not want to deal with painting successive layer and layer and layer of black paint over white primer, because it's just like when you're talking about bases, and I put my sand and stuff on before I prime, like it would just take forever to dry.
Absolutely,
we're talking hours. So I had him spray these things black with the airbrush to, again, cut time down when it comes to painting. And that is going to save me hours right there. And so they are white on their miniatures and black on their bases. So we are off to the races. Hey, that's a rhyme. Cool. On those. And I figured out my color scheme for that. And I don't want to spoil it. I don't want to talk about the colors too much until I'm done.
Okay.
Because like it's gonna rule. It's gonna be really good. Maybe I'll do a teaser when I finish one of these tokens, like the scoring token or something. But it's gonna be great. Here's the thing about the elf kit, though.
Yeah.
I don't like it. Like the models are great, but the kit itself is annoying to put together. So
is it like fiddly or what?
They're kind of fiddly. They have a bunch of like trailing hairstyles and scarves and stuff that can easily get bent out of shape if you're not careful. And then the way they connect to the bases. So all the Blood Bowl minis have slotted bases, and they're built to have slotted bases. On the orcs, that's fine, because the orcs are, for the most part, both feet on the ground, solidly planted. The elves, however, pretty much all of them have 1 foot on the ground.
Yeah, it's very Harlequin looking model range.
Right. And the tabs that go into the slotted bases are about as wide as the elf's foot. So what that means is that I had to do a ton of green stuffing to cover up the rest of the slotted base gap to get the sand on there for the bases.
Okay.
And that was really annoying.
How wide is the gap really? Because I've dealt with, slotted bases plenty, and usually just PVA glue, if I'm doing that, is thick enough to fill in that gap.
No, it's wider than that.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's, that wouldn't have worked. Trust me.
Okay.
These are 32 millimeter bases with some thick gaps for slotted base on there. So that was kind of annoying. The miniatures look great. Don't get me wrong. It's just like, they're a little fiddly, and the basing. Like I could have cut the bases or the slots off their feet and tried to glue their feet directly to the base itself, but the contact surface for that would be tiny because most of them are up on their toes.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's just like this was not a. If they had just extended the slot for the slaughter base by 100%, so instead of making it, half of an inch, I'm sorry, a quarter of an inch or an eighth of an inch long, making it half an inch long, that would have been a major help. But they didn't. And the reason they did this is probably because of sprue room. Mm-hmm. But still, it's not. That was annoying about the kit.
I mean, if they really wanted to have these dynamic models without having to rely on either tiny contact points or tabs, they could have just been pirouetting off big pieces of rubble.
Yeah, well, I got to tell you, bud, I'm glad they're not. Because I'm not a huge fan of that scene. So that's it for me. Quite a lot of hobby progress, and I'm just working towards Adepticon here. So getting ready, bud. Getting excited. Nice. 2 months.
Very nice. Well, I'm continuing my Adepticon prep by doing nothing related to what I'm taking to Adepticon and going incredibly hard on Slaves to Darkness.
Yeah.
So I painted the Start Collecting Chaos Warriors, that set of 10 dudes, and I have not batch painted 10 models in a while, and I kind of forgot how long that takes because I've been doing batches of 5 or 3 Primaris Marines, and it was just like, it's a long slog before they start actually look like anything.
Yeah, it's not great.
Yeah, but I'm glad I had at least like a practice squad done so I could just be like, okay, they're going to look like this. Although the new ones are way more lithe and realistically proportioned than the old ones who look all kind of like they're big plate mail Michelin men, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
But they look decent enough together. But I don't like... but Chaos Wizards are like, they're really big, or Sorcerer Lords are one of the best units in the army book.
Yeah.
And I don't like the plastic ones, any of them, or the similar plastic ones they've got. So I found the 2010 Games Day Chaos Sorcerer, who is he is the muscle wizard I actually want. I don't want this like lithe, spindly little dude. No, I want a dude who hits the spell books as hard as he hits the gym. And that's what this model is. He's even got extra little arms, and one even has a big bicep, even though it's just holding a tiny key. The model is like, it's weird because the model is like 60% awesome, and then once they get to like just below the waist, they forgot what they were doing and just kind of left. They're just like, fuck it, who cares? So he's got this like hyper detailed upper body and belt and book and everything, and then it's just like robes and banana feet. Like his shoes look just like bananas. They have no detail whatsoever. So I put a grass tuft in front of those. I also built.
Well, it's a model from 2010, right? Is it metal?
Yeah, of course it's metal.
Nice.
Yeah,
I'm looking at him right now on your Twitter.
Yeah, I've posted pictures of everything I've painted on my Twitter, which is Brother SRM. So.
Throwing his hands in the air as if he does not care.
He's making a pair of goalposts with his arms and his horns. He'd be a hell of a Blood Bowl player.
Yeah,
actually, he would. He's not holding a weapon. He's just holding a little key, which I don't think counts as a weapon in the Nuffle guidelines.
Probably not, no.
Probably not. Although I did realize, I'm like, fuck. I finished him and primed him, posted pictures. I'm like, or varnished him, posted pictures, and I'm like, fuck. I forgot to shade his nipple.
Oh, no.
So might as well throw the entire model out.
No. Oh, man, what are you doing? You got to shade the nip.
I got to shade that nip. I did with all the other fucking Godsworn Hunt guys.
Talk about shading your blacks. Fuck that, y'all. Shade your nips.
So aside from that, I built and I'm currently painting the Start Collecting Chaos Knights from that same set as the Warriors. And
these are Fantasy Knights, not
the
Imperial.
Not Imperial Chaos Knights.
Okay.
Fantastical Chaos
I'd be
Knights.
like, that would be a pretty big pivot there, bud.
Oh, yeah. Just, one night army.
Work on Ultramarines for a year and a half, and then you're like, all right, I've got 2 units of Chaos Warriors and a Muscle Wizard done. Better start a new army of Knights, my second Knights army.
Yeah, my second Knights army that no one will play against with me. No, I'm buying a Knights army, obviously, so someone else can take them against me, and I can use both of my toys at once.
I'll play your Knights army.
I would love to play my Knights army with you, but I also don't want to get stomped by my own shit.
I'll kick your Knights army's ass.
You probably would. Well, if history is any
I wouldn't bring the Astraeus. I wouldn't bring the fucking Astraeus. I'd actually bring good models.
So what the fuck am I gonna harpoon?
Nothing. It's gonna die before you can.
No.
Anywho,
painting the Slaves of Darkness Chaos Knights, the models are really cool, but they're kind of averse to being painted because they have so much overlapping detail.
That's one way to describe them.
Like, you look at the models, and like looking at the Games Workshop web store, whatever, and they've got these like big shields and big capes, and like they look dope and dynamic and amazing. The problem is they're like those ridiculously precisely engineered models that while you're putting them together, you're like, this is genius that this goes together so smoothly and organically.
Right.
And then it's done, and you're like, how the fuck am I painting under the backside of this dude's cape? Or how am I getting the trim on the inside of this dude's shield arm? I genuinely don't know, because you can't assemble those things separately. Like the hand holding the shield pegs into a separate thumb that's pegged in, that's connected to the reins of a horse. And the joint is so tiny that if you were to prime first or whatever, it wouldn't stick.
Oh, no.
Or it would have a big obvious gap. It is a massive
Here's
gonna be a challenge.
Here's an idea.
Yeah.
Don't paint that part.
Yeah, the inside of the shields are probably just going to be black. I think maybe that Incubi Darkness shaded with a black wash, but I don't think I'm going to put as much care into those as I put into some other interior shields.
I wouldn't.
Yeah, I think that's probably for the best of what remains of my sanity. Other than that, my dad's coming to town tomorrow, and he wants to play Aeronautica, so I built the Orc planes from that half of the set. So I got the 3 Dakka jets and 2 fighter bombers all done.
All right.
And that's me on hobby progress. Got a fair bit done myself.
Did you play any games?
No, but I have an extremely Campbell story.
Tell us the Campbell story. Gather around, listeners, while old man Campbell tells us a story.
So I'm walking around Somerville, as I often do, with Anne. We just got out of Metal Yoga, which this week was Uncle Acid and the Deadbeats themed. And we ran into friend of the show, Sarah Kaiser, and her friend Mac, who is a listener. And there's like, hey, Sarah's like, I'm moving out of town. Want to come over to the Artisans Asylum, like makerspace? I'm getting rid of some shit. You can just take it. We can hang out. So went over there, got some cool Necromunda stuff from her, and Mac gave me this hot pink dice tower he'd printed for me. And it's absolutely amazing. I posted it a few weeks ago when this happened on my Twitter, and I love it. Thank you, Mac.
That is fantastic.
I love being able to physically hold a totem of how much I've been owned. It's really nice.
Oh my God. I'm looking at it right now.
It's like kind of reflective too. It is maybe the most obnoxious pink plastic you could possibly print with, and I'm so down with it.
You have needed this for so long.
I have needed it for an incredibly long time.
I am like actually ready to play a game with you now, because I know that maybe you won't murder all of my models with you and your fucking throwing dice up in the air. Oh God.
Oh, shit. Peter was telling me about somebody he plays with who will just grab dice by the fistful and then just like squeeze it in his hand like he's trying to squeeze the water out of a brick of cheese or whatever, and just slam his hand on the table and let go, and that's when the dice are rolled. And I'm trying to figure out if that's more or less destructive or more or less aggressive than my typical dice rolling.
Well, I
method.
mean, it's not rolling. That's setting the dice down, maybe setting them forcefully down, but it's not rolling them.
I'd say it's aggressively setting them down.
I'd tell the guy, like, hey, fucko, you got to roll the dice. You can't just put the dice down.
I'd be like, I dare you to do that near my regiment of spearmen.
Yeah, you fucking tell him. All right.
Yeah. You playing games?
I did. I've got 2 games to talk about. First, I did an amble hunt. I hosted one at my house for the Winter of Malcontents campaign. And, bud, it was a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. So this one, we played it pretty much the same way that we did at Cinco de Necro. And though the amble, thankfully, wasn't discovered immediately, it was discovered almost immediately with the guys were just like, we're just going to lob blast templates into the darkness. And if it gets hit, it gets discovered. And so I was like, oh, okay, well, here we go. So the amble did go on a terror and took out, I think, 5 or 6 Necromundans on its own. Mm-hmm. Then the boar worms, one of them tanked like an entire 2 gangs shootings. It just wouldn't die. It was hilarious. And then the other one took out 2 gangers by itself with coup de grace actions.
Savage.
So I wasn't playing in the game. I was playing the ambles, basically, the amble and the boar worms. And I was like, I'm going to take this boar worm and fuck people up if they get seriously injured. So it was a lot of fun. My player Mike won with his Orlocks, and he won the Amble Hunt. So he's flush with cash right now. But it was a good time, man. A lot of fun. A lot of experience was handed out. And I think my players had a really good time.
Nice.
All right. And then I played last weekend against my friend Dylan's Space Wolves.
Ooh.
Now, Space Wolves can be a tough nut to crack because they've got a ton of wolfen, and all the wolfen have Thunderhammer Storm Shields. So it's like, here's a bunch of 2+ save dudes who outflank, and then or 3+, if you will, save guys who outflank and then really mess your shit up if they get close to you. But Dylan took 250 points worth of whirlwinds.
I mean, they're kind of okay now.
Well, not against Raven Guard Primaris Marines, because Raven Guard are always in cover, especially from a whirlwind. So it was like they just didn't do anything. And that was 250 points on the table, not doing a dang thing. Some highlights of this game include me. I took the Phobos captain and gave him the Warlord trait for +1 damage to shooting.
So it's like a damage 4 bolt rifle or whatever.
It is a damage 4 bolt rifle. And then I gave that Corvidae bolts, which increase its range by 6 inches and make it indirect fire. So
a lot of rules.
36-inch, assault 1, strength 4, AP -2, but -3 in the tactical doctrine, damage 4 gun, and I one-shotted a rune priest that he had.
Yeah, you don't fucking say, because you have a precision mortar on your character.
And then I also took a squad of eliminators and the lieutenant with the Ex Tenebris Stalker bolt rifle. So I had snipers all over the place. It was that was a lot of fun. I really before the Raven Guard supplement came out, like snipers were like, fine, whatever, it's cool. Now I love how hard Raven Guard lean into sniping. It is so much fun to just murk people's characters, especially when it's a one-shot damage 4 gun.
Oh, that's so foul. That's so dirty. Oh,
it is so good. Shrike came in and he escorted a group of Inceptors, plasma Inceptors down.
Oh, Jesus.
And I was like, all right, this is cool. This is cool. So I had my plasma Inceptors. I rolled, I think, 13 shots between the 3 of them on one of the whirlwinds.
Oh.
And I was like, hell yeah. I hit on, I think, 11 of them. No deaths. I did 6 wounds.
Oh. Inceptors! Yeah, that's kind of par for the course.
So I didn't even kill one whirlwind with the Inceptors, who then immediately got shot to death right afterwards. No, they didn't. They ended up getting into combat with a different whirlwind and then did nothing because that's what they do. The Shrike came in and like helped them out and cleaned up a squad of enemy intercessors. And, Shrike is pretty fucking gnarly. So it was a good game, though. It was a lot of fun. Dylan had a bunch of dreadnoughts. He loves his big Wolfen dreadnoughts and Leviathans, and he takes Wolfen dreadnoughts with storm shields, and he just like sprints them up the table, and it's like, what?
I really love the storm shield for a dreadnought isn't that much bigger than the storm shield for your typical power jorts wearing Wolfen, and it's kind of fucking bonkers that produces a 3-up invulnerable save for something the size of a house.
It doesn't. It's a 4-up on the dreadnoughts.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
Fine.
it was a really fun game, though. And of course, Dylan is one of my good friends, and I love to play against him. So I'm having a lot of fun with, it's only like my second game with the Raven Guard supplement. But I need to get some more in. I've already scheduled a couple of games coming up. So very excited for that. All right, let's move on to new stuff. Gang, we got a lot to talk about time.
We're going to be the last podcast to talk about the LVO reveals and probably the first podcast to talk about the Spiel reveals.
Yeah. So here we go. We're going to go chronological order, kind of. So let's start with, oh boy, the Legion Arquator Bombard with Spicula rocket system.
I love, I've been tossing up, do I call this the Speculum rocket system or the Spatula rocket system? And they're both so good.
Yeah, you could do either one. Well, so this is a new Horus Heresy tank, a 30K, the perfect game tank. And I've decided that it is the most poorly named thing in Games Workshop right now.
It is like an a 7-word title for one little tank. And yeah, it does look like it. I think it's just a Sakaran turned backwards, but it is really cute.
It's a Sakaran turned backwards with some rockets coming out of it. It looks good. I think it actually looks pretty cool. It's just
I think it looks cool. It's very Command & Conquer.
The names that they do for the Horus Heresy are like GW naming, everything's got to be copyrightable.
Yep.
Right. But like Murder Fang, that's fun.
Blood Fists,
whatever. It's cool. But then it's like all this fake Latin stuff.
I mean, the fake Latin is part of the fun. The problem is when they repeat the fake Latin. Like, how many things were Primaris blank before we had Primaris Space Marines,
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, the Primaris naming convention in and of itself is a problem. It's like, how many words start with I?
Yeah, it's the Primaris Impossibilator.
Anyways, so that's out. Ritual of the Damned came out, and this was another Psychic Awakening book. So more and more rules for everyone. So this one buffed the Dark Angels, the Grey Knights, and the Thousand Sons, which were 3 factions that sorely needed some help.
That's the thing. The complaints we initially had were a lot of these were kind of getting the richer sort of things, like, oh, cool, help for Space Marines and Eldar and Dark Eldar. But now it's actually getting to factions that could really use the help. So I'm pretty happy about that. I, haven't read the book or anything like that, but the Dark Angels model is pretty dope.
He is, yeah. They got a new, I guess, captain for Dark Angels, captain model, a Primaris Dark Angel captain.
With options.
Who looks really, really good. I can't wait to see what people do with that model. So good for these armies, man. They all needed some help and they got better. If you want to know how much better they got, head on over to goonhammer.com where we've put out a wonderful guide on what changes the new Psychic Awakening book has brought to these armies. And I got to tell you, it's pretty spicy across the board for all 3.
That's the thing, when pretty much every single book has an article laying out what it is, then a separate article of hot takes relating to that book or whatever, there's got to be something going on.
Okay, let's move on. Necromunda. Some Necromunda stuff came out. Necromunda scenery kits. These are all standalone stuff from the Dark Uprising box, which I'm looking at right now. And boy, that's a thick box.
Yeah, it doesn't weigh, I think it weighs like 18 pounds or something stupid like that.
God, it's
a lot of plastic.
Yeah, so they put out the scenery kits, which are actually like they're pretty dense for what you get there. So if people are going to be wanting to make their own Zone Mortalis setups from the Uprising, or I should say, like the Uprising box, then this is how you do it. They put out standalone subjugators and corpse grinders for the people that don't really want all the rest of the crap and just want to get some new dudes in their lists. And then they released the 8-fold Harvest Lord.
All right. We were talking a little bit before the show, and you weren't crazy about this dude.
No, I think it's a mix of a not great paint job. Forge World has some inconsistency with their painting. And the way he's posed, and maybe it's just the way he's photographed, he's like striding forward, but he looks like he's tilted to one side, and the pose from what I've seen so far just doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
I mean, there's a 360 view of him on the Forge World website, which I think contextualizes it a little better.
I'm looking it up right now because I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, but I think it's a pretty cool model. He does scream edgelord in all the literal as well as metaphorical ways.
I do think you mean Harvest Lord.
Well, the Edgefold Harvest Lord. Either way, with his fucking I really do love the actual severed head with a spike going through the eye on his face. This dude, I would have scribbled this dude in the back of my math binder and in probably I was gonna say AP Calc, but let's be honest, I was in pre-algebra, and that's probably where I would have drawn this. Yeah, guy.
I'm seeing it. So I'm at the head on angle right now, and it's not that great. But when you go side on, it's much better.
And I do think his choice in footwear is going to make a certain number of horn dogs very happy.
Ooh, you can see them toes, baby. Look at them toes. One thing, though, I'm not a huge fan of, they gave him that hood.
Yeah.
Which kind of obscures his mask.
Oh, it's like Reaper from Overwatch. It's the second Reaper from Overwatch model Games Workshop has put out in the last couple of years.
I don't like it that much.
Yeah, I think it's cool with the half-broken horn. I think it's a pretty good model.
It's okay. I think it's okay.
All right.
No nips. No nips, though.
No nips. They've been scarred off. Also, his fluff is like extremely grimdark if you haven't read it.
Well, yeah, he sort of just shows up after enough people have been murdered.
Yeah,
and then he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna murder some more people."
Yeah, but say,
hey, have you flensed those dead guys yet? Mind if I just get some flensing in?
trying to sever some limbs, if that's okay with y'all.
I'm trying to make a new cape.
Yeah, well, it's cool. I mean, it's fun. It's good stuff.
So what else we got?
The LVO preview. So LVO was last weekend, and I think the fella who won the Atlanta Gaming Con, whose name I can't remember, Richard Siegler, also won LVO. So congrats to him. He did it with a truly nasty Iron Hands list.
Oh, not the list of just assassins and buildings.
No, I was a big fan of that list.
I'm also a big fan of that list.
We did some list previews over on Goonhammer before LVO, which was a fun article. I love those articles because James Grover goes into the Best Coast Pairings app and like finds fun lists that people have and then posts about them. It's a really cool article because I'm not about to do that much fucking research.
Right, same. Although the whole like army list sections, those are always the posts I scrolled by very quickly when I was still reading forums. It's like, there's some math.
Here's when there was back when I actually read the thread on Something Awful, there people would just post these battle scribe text dumps.
Yeah, it's like, this is a tactical squad, and it's like sergeant, chainsword, bolt pistol, frag grenade, crack grenade.
Well, the way
Marine 1, frag grenade, crack grenade, bolt gun. Marine 2, frag grenade, crack grenade, bolt gun, etc., etc., etc.
The way that it's formatted is just so eye-bleedingly awful when people just dump it from that app to a text editor. And everybody's fucking lazy as shit, so nobody takes any time trying to make it readable. And so my eyes would just slide past that, and I would not have anything to contribute.
It's like oil on water, just going right off.
Yeah, and then there are people who are so excited about list building. That's really all they want to do.
Yeah.
And so you'd have pages of that thread that were like half to 75% of just battlescribe text dumps, and then people doing even worse, quoting the entire list in full.
Yeah, and then offering their own revised version of it.
Oh,
so it's
God.
reading the list twice. It's amazing. But you know what? I'm not going to yuck those yums. That is just not the kind of experience I'm here for.
Sending my eyes to hell every time they post that shit. I hate it. Anyways, LVO preview. Here we go. So they released a bunch of pictures of new AdMech models. Adeptus Mechanicus. First off, Adeptus Mechanicus Cavalry. I love the shit. Because the idea that the Adeptus Mechanicus is so like technologically advanced that they are going around the spectrum of technological advancement and coming back to really stupid shit.
Yeah.
I fucking love.
I'm just glad Rough Riders are getting work again. They may have gotten servadored, but they're at least working again.
Yeah.
Flamethrower horses. It's a fucking incredible.
They're metal horses with flamethrower heads. It's like Dr. Evil designed them.
It's somewhere between Dr. Evil and the cover of Judas Priest's Painkiller.
It's pretty good. Then they brought out I'm calling them, I don't know what they're called, but I'm calling them the Birdmen of Admikatsa, which is of course, a callback to the Birdmen of Katratza,
yes.
My favorite Dogs of War unit.
I just really hope Brian Blessed gets to play one of them in the inevitable movie. They're dope as hell. Anyone who says they're like, I've seen some people being not really into the whole Da Vinci-esque aesthetic. They're going with that, but no, like AdMech is all about like invention for the sake of invention. So that Da Vinci look is incredibly on brand. I love the look. It's so silly. I love
fantastic. Great models. Can't wait to see what their rules are.
Bunch of T3 jump pack infantry coming at you.
Hey man, it works for Sisters with their Seraphim. So hey, maybe it'll work for them too. Yeah, let's move on to a mysterious return of a certain Gretchen or Grot model. Makari is back, but Campbell, Makari, you couldn't just buy Makari on his own. He had a buddy that he palled around with.
He came with some fucking guy. I can't remember his name though.
Gazkul Mag Uruk Thraka would be his name. Yes.
I thought it was like Butt Crunch to Squig Herda or something like that. But no. Gazkul Thraka is pretty okay.
Yeah, he's all right. So we're looking at a new Gazkul model.
Yeah, I've seen some people piece together some of the pictures from the whole turnaround, all that stuff, and you can get kind of like a 2/3 what the model might look like sort of thing. But they're doing their good teaser work here. I'm into it.
Claw of this guy, the fingers are offset. Mm-hmm. It's such a cool look. Just that right there has got me excited.
Hey, you've got some orcs. 29 green can live on in Vulpus Vulcis Venti Venti.
There we go.
Thank you for doing your duty.
That's what I'm here for. That's the first sound effect of the episode. Maybe it'll be the last. Who knows?
Tell us what you think in the comments. Don't forget to ring the bell, click that like button, and subscribe.
Yeah, so new Gazcool. That's really cool for orc players. I can't wait to see the rest of this model.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. They put out a bunch of stuff for Age of Sigmar, some new high elf models. Mm-hmm. Teclis is back in what can only be described as a very confounding model.
So his mount looks like something out of Bayonetta, and I think it looks incredibly cool and like weird fantasy-esque. And he's just there in his fucking Jesus Christ pose sort of look, just kind of floating over it with his poofy pants and screaming real loud.
But
and
it's not his mount. He's not riding it.
It's kind of his companion, yeah.
He's floating near it.
It's just a scenic base.
It's a scenic base with a weird cat creature with a mask on. And then he's floating in what is a crucifixion pose. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not a fan of this one, y'all. Maybe this is the kind of like high elves were never my aesthetic, so maybe it's just not for me. But this model is it's confounding, and then it begs the question, like every other centerpiece AOS model. How the fuck are you going to store or transport one of these things?
With him, at least, I can see you can just kind of pop him off and just like magnetize him. Also, the thought of him alone on a 25mm base is really funny to me for reasons I can't quite articulate. But I think the whole like new Lumineth High Lords range that they've shown looks cool. Like it's very classic elf, but with enough Age of Sigmar weirdness in there to make it not look like just more Tolkien-esque elves.
Yeah.
My only complaint is Teclis, really, especially compared to the artwork of him that they posted beforehand, where he's got this like much more open pose. You can kind of read his armor a little better. The fact that he's just this like standing in a T pose to assert his dominance whilst screaming is not a great look for him.
Yeah, again, it's not my thing. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, gang. I'm sorry to all our high elf fans out there. Just not for me.
Lumineth High Lord fans, please.
Whatever. All right, so Lizardmen got a new pyramid.
Yeah, you know what? It's cool. It has Peter written all over it. Like it's like a cool Aztec style pyramid that's all overgrown. It's down with it. Very down with it.
Yeah. All right, and then a new warband for Warhammer Underpants is coming out. It's an Ogre, his wolf friend or saber-tooth friend. I can't remember. Saber-tusk friend. And then his a collection of Noblars. I was about to say Snotlings, but Noblars. And they're called Rothgorn's Man-Trappers.
Hell yeah. I dig those models a lot, especially considering the Saber-Tusk model for fantasy/AOS looks kind of like it's chiseled from stone, like it's very square and kind of awkward looking. But the thing along with those guys is a lesser Warhammer Underpants warband they showed off, which are the Wormspat, with like this really cool like Nurgle witch leading them. But then the other two guys look kind of like any other Blightlord out there. So I'll take the Ogres over the Roddy Boys, but I'm glad Warhammer Underpants is continuing to get more cool stuff.
Yeah, I feel like the cool idea of like a real tough character and then a somewhat less tough but still strong character and then 3 garbage characters is fun to me.
Yeah. It's got a lot of like, there's a lot of dynamicism in there that a gang like say Zarbadge's Jits, where they're all a bunch of really shitty 2-wound goblins and slightly less shitty 2-wound squigs, doesn't have. Like it's a lot more interesting, I think.
Yeah, cool models too.
Yeah, top to bottom, they're all great models. So,
all right, then they are releasing for Blackstone Fortress a Zote?
Yeah, I really like that Necromunda and Blackstone Fortress are just the repositories for weird old school shit. Like, it's like, remember this thing? It's in there! Remember this thing? It's in there! It's fantastic.
Yeah, and the Zote, man, wow. Like,
it's a good modernization of the old sculpt.
I didn't well, one, I didn't see this coming whatsoever. But then again, for all the Blackstone Fortress stuff, it's sort of just like, yeah, whatever, we'll do it. It'll be fun. But this model fucking whips, dude.
Yeah, I think the last Zote, like before this one, was cast before I was born. So it's kind of cool to see this guy come out. It's a really cool interpretation of the old design. Like there's a lot of that weird kind of organic shapes to everything, even the weapon. It's cool. I'm into it.
I am demanding we get Necromunda rules for this thing.
Yeah.
I want to paint one and make my players try to kill it.
Hell yeah.
That would be a lot of fun.
I'm sure even so, you could probably figure something out especially if you worked with Jules on it.
Okay, so last thing in the new stuff, we get a new trailer. I'm sorry, last thing for the LVO preview in the new stuff, because we still got stuff to talk about.
We're halfway there, y'all.
We get a new trailer for the Angels of Death animated show. Mm-hmm. And I love the animation on this.
The aesthetic is cool. The black, white, and red is very Sin City. And it's really, like, I think that's a really cool way to work with kind of a limited palette. Like, not just a literal visual limited palette, but with, like, it's a small team working on it, to my knowledge. There's not a fuckload of money behind it. So it's a cool way to limit that and keep it stylish at the same time.
Well, where you can tell that there's not a lot of money behind it is the voice acting and the audio.
The problem is the voiceover artists are all narrators from the audiobooks. All of them.
But they're not, it's not that they are doing a bad job. It's that like my biggest thing is when they have the Space Marine characters speaking, like, and you know, maybe this is just in my head, but I imagine Space Marine voices are going to be very deep, very resonant, very powerful because they're coming off of 7 or 8 foot tall, 400 to 600 pound people. Yeah. So, or post people, I guess. So they're going to be powerful and loud and deep. And in this show, they're just not. They ran it through a filter to sound like it's coming over a radio, and it just did not work for me at all.
I mean, this is also like very early pre-release stuff, so maybe when we actually get the finished product, it'll sound a bit different because that's not uncommon for things at this stage. But I agree with you. Like Space Marines, like Dawn of War's sound design, top to bottom, in all 3 games is very good. And Space Marines sound, how they sound Dawn of War is how they sound in my head, and nothing can change that. And some of that could just be because that's kind of where I really had my like big intro to 40K was with Dawn of War, but nothing has captured the sound of what I think a Space Marine or a Bolter or whatever sound like better than those games have. Yeah.
And again, I'm not trying to say the voice actors are doing a bad job. It's just the audio engineer in me hears all this and I'm just like, y'all could do a lot better.
Yeah. But we'll see how it turns out. This is just like the first teaser and like, it looks cool. So, I will watch it when it comes out, but I can't say I'm like chomping at the bit for it, you know?
Okay. Yeah, it's Blood Angels too, which, I mean, yeah, whatever.
Well, they couldn't have done this aesthetic with like Black Templars. Everything would just be impossible to see.
It's a good point. I'm honestly just glad they didn't do it with Ultramarines.
That worked so well last time.
Yeah, right. God. We should do a segment where we watch and review that movie.
Oh God, that means having to watch that movie again. Oh, my sweet summer child.
All right. Well, okay. Let's move on to Spiel.
Yeah, the Spiel reveals, which as last year, reveals is spelled in my notes as Reviel.
Oh, excellent. I have this as the Nuremberg report, which is a lot more ominous.
It's a lot more ominous than a couple of toys.
I'm very excited for new Aeronautica models.
Yeah, I've been complaining. I complained like last episode or the one before that it seemed like there wasn't much coming out for Aeronautica. And then today I just get a text from Dylan. He's like, new Aeronautica stuff. And I just went over and just got fucking floored by this Taros Air War stuff.
A whole new starter set for Aeronautica that includes Valkyries, Aeronautica-sized Valkyries.
Hell yeah.
Which, yes,
they can also be built as Vendettas.
Fucking radical. Aeronautica-sized Lightnings, which are the smaller and more agile Imperial fighters as compared to the Thunderbolt. And then Tau ships. Yeah. The Tiger Shark and the Barracuda Tau planes or whatever they are, which is a whole new faction in Aeronautica. So now we have 3 Imperial, Orcs, and Tau. Well, now, you didn't play old Aeronautica, but I did.
I did not.
And let me tell you something about Tau and Old Aeronautica. They fucking kicked ass. Their planes were slow as fuck, but they had the most guns.
I mean, the preview says they have unlimited missiles and shit, so this is going to be a fun time.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that stuff. I will probably end up picking this up just because I want to expand my Imperium stuff to, and maybe paint some Tau stuff for the first time. And get someone like our friend Chris Stover into the game.
Ooh,
now that there's Tau stuff, because he's a big Tau fan.
Let's say he could paint it like his Manta and shit.
And once again, the models are fantastic. The Aeronautica models, you've seen them, you've messed with them. They're excellent.
Well, when I was building the orc planes last night, like I was just marveling at how, aside from a few very fiddly detail bits, how quickly and easily they went together. And then with the orc ones especially, how different they all are and how they all slot together in these different ways. And you can just make nearly infinite combinations of planes from this really geniusly designed little kit. I love the Aeronautica range. The planes paint up pretty quick too. I'm excited to get the Imperials. I think I'll pass on the Tau, but I'm going to get those Imperials.
Yeah. So very, very excited for that. And then Campbell, something you might be excited for.
You can't hear it, but I'm flexing so hard right now. It's the House of Chains, motherfucker. This is a book that looks thicker than a Goliath bicep, and it comes with it's coming out alongside a whole fuckload of new Goliath stuff, which I am so stoked for.
Yeah, so they are expanding all of the house gangs in Necromunda, it looks like, with new champions, new Juves with a whole host of interesting and terrifying weaponry.
Yep.
And an entire book just about Goliaths,
So
Goliath.
Here we got Codex Goliaths, and next month it's going to be start collecting Goliaths.
So I am very, very, I'm going to get this because, I'm going to get this because I kind of have to now with the whole Goonhammer thing. But like, this looks fantastic. I really want to get it because I want to see what they do with House Goliath in here, and maybe extrapolate some ideas for what's going to happen with the other houses of the Underhive.
That's what I'm thinking too, because they showed the 4 Forgeborn, which look like Juves, but they're more slender and, but they're still jacked. Like there's Lady Goliaths in there too.
Not that slender.
Yeah, I know.
I love the Lady Goliath miniatures.
Yeah, they still look like they could choke slam a building like any other Goliath can.
And they are not for the horn dogs.
No,
and I appreciate that.
Which I'm super into. And there's
listen, guys, we don't hate the horn dogs on this show.
No, we have whole ones for the horn dogs after all.
But like, I enjoy it when representation isn't just like, for the horn dogs.
Yeah, there's more to representation than, chainmail bikinis and so on.
But the models are fantastic, dude. There's these 2 like big champion guys, stimmers they're called.
Well, which makes you wonder, like, are these Biggs Chungus replacing the Goliath Zerker?
And it makes me wonder. Sorry, I don't think so. I think these are going to be different.
Okay, because I also wonder if these Forgeborn are replacing.
Chungus. I like that.
That's the plural, isn't it? It's better than Big Chungai. Which, I mean, I guess there's an argument for that too, but that's for another time. Now, I'm wondering if these Forgeborn are, like, look like a Juve sort of role, even if their equipment isn't what Juves usually have, which is, like, knives and pistols and shit. So I'm wondering if, like, our Forgeborn replacement for Juves are each of these gangs kind of going to get their own sort of Juve equivalent sort of ganger or something? I'm curious.
That would be cool as shit.
Yeah. And I'm thinking these 6 models are all in one sprue like the Subjugators.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, we'll see.
Yeah. And there's like the art that they showed here too, like, is so fucking gnarly. There's like welding masks and tattoos and piercings everywhere.
Dog, like if you take a look at that book on the cover, the guy on the right, there's 3 guys, right?
Yeah.
And he looks like an older Goliath who's decked out in finery with like a sump croc cloak.
Yeah.
Fuck yes.
Yeah. No, like in order, it's like you versus the guy she tells you not to worry about versus his dad.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Yeah.
And then at Spiel, they are releasing some Adeptus Titanicus stuff, a whole new starter box for Adeptus Titanicus. Now, listeners may remember that our friend Alfredo Ramirez bought me an entire Adeptus Titanicus starter box. So at some point in the near future, I am going to become an Adeptus Titanicus player. So while I'm not super excited about this yet, I'm sure in the near future I will be. Also, the model for that insane Warlord-esque Titan.
The Warbringer Nemesis Titan?
Yeah, with the giant, I don't know, anti-capital ship gun mounted on its back.
Anti-moon cannon.
Yeah, I mean, it looked ridiculous in 28 millimeter size, but in 6 millimeter size, it looks real good.
I mean, when I saw the Forge World full scale one, I'm like, this looks dumb, and like it's gonna look a lot better when it's made for Adeptus Titanicus, because I got the notion that it was made as a Forge World model just so they could scale it down to make a plastic one for Adeptus Titanicus, and it looks a lot cooler in 6 mil or 8 mil or whatever scale this is.
I cracked open this Titanicus box that Alfredo got me, and dude, like these models are so detailed.
Yeah, they're pretty much perfect representations of the bigger ones, but really we're missing the most important thing here of all, which is Adeptus Titanicus scale cargo containers, and the doors fucking open, and I love them. They're so cute.
Yeah, there's a whole new terrain set for Adeptus Titanicus 2, which is great, man, because like you can't really play Adeptus Titanicus on a 40K table.
No, unless you want to have a very Honey, I Shrunk the Titans sort of experience.
So a lot of cool stuff out of Spiel, man. Things are happening. Hobby is fucking moving along right now.
Yeah, I'm thinking this year is like really going to be my year of specialist games. Like I was going to start doing Escher before today when they announced all this Goliath stuff, which I'll still be working on them because I have a theme and everything chosen. Yeah. But man, I'm just going to be going hard on Aeronautic Imperialis and Necromunda this year. I can't.
Not Adepticon. You're chilling at Adepticon.
No.
I don't even know if you're doing any events.
I'm doing the friendly or may the Schwartz be with you, and then we're going to be throwing down in an exhibition game.
Oh, that's right. We should talk about that.
Yeah, in the battle of the podcast, we are going against the independent characters themselves, Carl Tuttle, and this time around our good pal Jody, and we are going to have a fucking blast playing against each other in a battle to see who is worse at Warhammer.
Those guys, okay, Jody and Carl are amongst the nicest people I know. And I am going to feel really bad when we completely steamroll them.
Oh, no. You know how every time I play against someone who's like kind and charitable and like a generally good person and I just grind them into the dust, you're going to get to experience that with me. It's going to be fantastic.
I think we're doing 2v2 with 1,000 points per player.
Mm-hmm. Nice and manageable.
I'm going to bring so many fucking sniper rifles. It's going to be hilarious.
Maybe I could sandbag if I bring a fuckload of Reavers or something.
No. You bring the combat. You bring Marnius and, I don't know, aggressors. And I'll bring other stuff.
Should they listen to the show? They're going to know our plan now.
It's okay. It's not going to matter. We're going to... They're going to get murked.
Well, we can at least...
Sorry, Jody and Carl. I love you guys, but you don't know what you're getting into.
Carl does.
Carl's been there. Yeah, Carl's been there. Yeah, the challenge is thrown down, fellas.
I'll be bringing the challenge coin. We'll be playing for it again.
Oh, God. We're going to have to buy them so many beers.
Oh, but at least there's ample opportunity to do so at Adepticon.
Thankfully, yes. All right, let's move on. We're going to make a call real quick with We Make Da Call. Here we go. This is from Alex F. via email. I love this question, by the way. It's very easy to do a comedy option answer for this, but we're going to give it some real attention. He says, now that 8th edition is well established and quote unquote matured and may even be advancing to 9th edition, if I understand the current rumors correctly, is there anything you boys miss about 7th edition, which you wish was carried over / brought back? Comedy option answer for this is no. Nothing.
Oh. Let the past die. Kill it if you have to.
Yeah. So this is a good question. I actually debated doing a whole segment for this question.
Yeah.
But I think we can. There are some things about 7th that I think in the current like rule set for 8th could be a good idea. So, and one of those things would be like, honestly, universal special rules.
A few of them, yeah.
Like Deep Strike.
Yep.
We already called it Deep Strike for all of these.
Yeah.
And when you say Deep Strike,
everyone knows what you
all
mean.
of us parse that to mean can be set up on the table 9 inches away from the enemy.
Yeah.
We all know what that means. And so that would be something to just get the word count down for these miniatures. So universal special rules are there. I don't miss vehicle facings. I don't miss them at all.
All right. So first of all, while you've been being like things you generally miss from 7th edition. I'm like, when was 7th edition? Oh yeah, I was 25 back then. Being 25 was kind of nice. I heard a lot less. I didn't get hungover so much. Those are things I miss from 7th edition.
How much older am I than you? Like 6 years older than
Something
you?
like that. I'm 29 right now.
When did 7th edition come out?
Like, didn't it drop in like 2014 or 2015?
Yeah, so I guess I was still in my 20s.
Yeah.
Man, that was, oh God, that would have been nice, huh?
There was so much time then.
I mean, life is better now, but you know, I could like have more than 4 or 5 beers and not feel like shit the next morning.
Life is better now, but simpler then. But the rules weren't.
No, they certainly weren't. No,
I sort of miss some of the. I miss
Honestly,
some of the
there's not a
terrain
lot.
rules. I miss some of the granularity of terrain rules that I think would be very easy to port back over. Pretty much just like, oh, this is +1 safe cover. This is +2 safe cover, or this is +1 safe cover. This is +1 -1 to be hit cover. Something like a distinction between light cover and heavy cover. Like even something like that, I would kind of like. But I don't like the extra layered complexity we get in a lot of cover where it's like, if you're standing within 3 inches of this and roll any 6s on cover saves, you take a mortal wound. Like, send that shit out of here. No one wants that.
Remember when you're driving a Land Raider over a crater, and if you roll a 1, it's immobilized for the rest of the game?
Yeah, because that's not the only thing getting cratered that game. So is my confidence. No, I don't miss that sort of thing. I'm
gonna say one word, and I know it's gonna make you shudder.
I know what
revulsion.
it is. Spell it one letter at a time, so I can gear up for it.
C.
Oh.
H.
Uh-huh.
A.
All right.
L.
Oh no.
L.
Oh God, no.
E.
No.
N, G. E. S.
Oh, I don't like challenges. No, sir. I do not care 1 iota for challenges.
What were you thinking I was going to say?
Formations.
Oh, God, no. Gross.
Yeah, which, like, I fortunately was largely inoculated from formations in my local game group, but still just the kind of psychic overall, psychic face, kind of the psychic overall feeling in the Warhammer community was so negative towards those that you just kind of got this, like, automatic outpouring of negativity, even if you didn't play with those sorts of things, just kind of if you spent any time online whatsoever. And like, yeah, that element's always going to be there no matter what fandom or thing you care about, but it was real bad then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Alex, that's a good question. And I thank you so much for asking it. And listeners, please send in questions to contact@40kbadcast.com. We need them.
Yep, that's it.
And, you know, if you're still enjoying 7th edition through the, you know, lexicon of the Horus Heresy, you know, good. I hope you're having fun. Yeah, I hope you're really, really enjoying it.
If you're still enjoying 7th edition through sheer entropy alone, also hope you're having fun.
Okay, let's move on to our first, you know, segment of the show here.
So speaking of complex rules.
Hour in here. So we wanted to ask the question, does increased complexity in a rule set, in a game's rule set, make it a more narrative experience, or is the inverse true?
Yeah, so this is a sort of segment that was inspired by a conversation I had recently with Eric Beers, who...
Beersy!
You know, longtime listeners will know who that kind fella is, and listeners to the independent characters will also know who that kind fella is, because dude gets around in the hobby community.
Love Beersy.
A swell fella. I think I'm going to be playing Tiny Planes with them at Adepticon, but anyway. Yeah, so
There's a cat on my lap.
Oh, that's awesome. My cat's... Oh, shit, where'd she go? Oh, she's on the bookshelf. She's hiding behind a Space Marine statue up there, so she's good.
Good.
So, this thing, we want to talk about this because, like, we're both massive Necromunda fans.
Yes.
And not massive Kill Team fans.
No.
Not saying Kill Team's a bad game, just saying it's not really our taste for what we're looking for.
No.
So... I kind of want to look into how you can tell a story with these games. And one of the ways I thought to kind of look at this, just as like an example here, is just looking at what the outcomes are of failing an armor save in a few different games.
Okay.
So like in 40K, fail an armor save, your model takes a wound. If it's multi-wound, or it's removed from the table, the end. So yeah. That's very binary, but that works for a large scale game. And
well, there are times when like Wolfen get to fight when they die.
Right. Or vehicles get to degrade a little bit, but by and large it is take wound, go off table, go back in the foam.
Yeah.
And that's cool and works great for a game of that scale, but when you get more granular, you have more space to have the sort of, experience we want to talk about here. So let's look
Right.
at,
We've said multiple times that when the model count goes down, the rule complexity should go up.
yeah, to some degree. So look at Kill Team, where a model takes a flesh wound and they continue to fight on, or they take a wound, or they're removed from the table. So you've got a few more options here. Now, granted, the way flesh wounds work in that game, I don't super like because they make you less effective, not more vulnerable. So it just turns the game into more of a slap fight over time. But still, you have something of a granular aspect there, which I think is cool. And then let's look at Necromunda. So your model fails their armor save. They take a flesh wound and continue to fight on. It's disappointing when that happens, but that happens.
No, it's not. No, when you roll that flesh wound,
Well,
oh my God, it's like hell yeah, they're not dead.
That's true. Okay. For the owner of the guy wounded, they take a flesh and continue to fight on, and that's cool. But for the person doing the damage, especially if they're like, I shot you with a heavy bolter, how are you just okay? So there's that. Or maybe a model's taken out of action. All right, that's basically the same as being taken out of action in any other game. Although
it's
if
not.
it's a narrative
No,
game,
dude.
if it's a narrative game, you do get
you're
to
killing me.
Well, you get to
when that skull gets rolled.
Yeah.
On the injury dice in Necromunda, it is an event every single time.
Well, yeah, because you have to break out a D66 table. And that gets exciting. And wild things start to happen. And that's just like the act of dying has just made things more exciting, which is wild. Now, granted, this is not in like a one-off game. That's not going to be the case, but still, it's unlikely that the character's going to be taken out of action. Like it's only on a die roll of a 6, essentially.
Right.
Or they're seriously injured. And if they're not in hand-to-hand combat where they just get coup de grace, they might crawl around for a few turns and bleed out. They might get back up for a dramatic comeback somewhere else on the table. And like there's a drama to that. Or some other people can help them back up. Or they get shot and knocked over or go out of action or whatever. And it makes all the dudes around them fucking panic and run to cover. And oh no, they ran to cover in a pool of acid. Now they're on fire. Now you get to roll to see, is he on fire? How on fire is he? What direction do they run in? Oh no, they ran off a ledge. And it is like we talked about before, it is a Rube Goldberg machine of misfortune, and it's incredible. And that tells such a story just in those rules.
Yes.
And I think the secret here is like we know it's a complex game, but like you don't use all of these rules every single time. And I think that's what's so cool. Like if every single shot was as complex as the Blaze system, the game would be insanely clunky. But by layering these things on and having them be kind of situational, you get to tell these like rarer stories, and I think that's what makes it such a good storytelling mechanic.
I got an idea here.
Yeah.
I think the reason why Necromunda and specifically Blood Bowl are so exciting to me is because you do not know what's going to happen every time you roll a dice.
Yeah.
Like with 40K, it's pretty much binary. It's this shot hits or it misses. This hit wounds or it doesn't. This save is made or it isn't. So, and it's very easy to look at what's going to happen based on every action that you do. And it's the same way in Kill Team for the most part.
Yeah.
But in Necromunda, when you shoot at somebody, is there somebody within an inch of a 1 millimeter thick line between the shooter and the target? And you missed? Oh, now you have to roll to see if that person is hit. Or are you going to run out of ammo? Are they going to fall off a ledge? Or like it's the amount of stuff that can happen every time you roll Blood Bowl. When you roll a block dice, are they going to go down? Are they going to get moved? Are they not going to do anything? It's awesome that you're just rolling a dice and seeing what happens instead of some sort of binary thing that you can actively plan for. So yeah, I think that when there's a bit of randomness involved or introduced rather into the system of the game, that's where a lot of fun storytelling can come through.
Absolutely. Because that's where you get unexpected stories. Because it's not an exciting story that your Space Marines hit with 6 out of 10 of their bolter shots, then re-rolled 2 of the ones that missed or whatever. It's exciting when, you have bullets flying every which way and ricocheting off things and people running out of ammo at the worst possible moment or getting a great shot at the best possible moment. Every game's a toolbox, and a game needs to have the tools necessary to tell the stories that they want to tell.
Yeah, and the idea that you're reducing the model count of the game, but not reducing the or not increasing the complexity of the rules, that makes for a shorter, more accessible game.
Yeah, like Aeronautica is a great example of that sort of game.
Yeah, or Kill Team, or not Warcry though. I think Warcry is a little different in a weird space because like they take the models down and the complexity goes a little bit up, but then like the characteristics and stuff change a big change from like Sigmar.
Yeah, it's a very different game from Age of Sigmar.
Where, yeah, you've got a character with like 35 wounds.
Yeah, and that's how they do their granular damage, because just taking a hit and going down or not is not the sort of story they want to tell. They want to have those guys chipping away at each other for a more dramatic sort of battle, and I totally buy that. And that isn't necessarily increasing complexity, but that is changing statistics from what you're used to.
Or how about
calculating?
Adeptus Titanicus, where you are doing your, choosing your movements and managing your reactor, and you shoot somebody, and then their reactor goes critical, and it explodes and kills like 4 other things.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I know to scream engine kill whenever one of these things go down, and I've never even played the game. I've been in the same room as it's being played, but
that's the thing. You don't know what's going to happen. And in Warhammer 40K, when you shoot something and it does explode, or you attack something and it does explode, like when a repulsor explodes, especially now that there's a fucking stratagem where you can make it explode automatically, like that's an event, my dude.
Absolutely. When Dylan's Stompa exploded and we had to like measure 8 inches out and everything around just got fucking nuked, like that was a big thing.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, 40K is a game about mitigating risk and about like doing your best to make sure the dice are in your favor. And that's going to be a factor in every single game. But there's a difference between like keeping your captain near your Marines at the optimal range to get rapid fire range and being like, oh, fuck, my ganger is out of position and he's got a combat shotgun and I might run out of ammo, or am I in range for a shredder round? And like, it's a very different set of problems you're trying to solve.
Right. And that's one of the greatest things about Necromunda is you can't pre-measure anything.
Yeah, which honestly, I'm into pre-measuring for 40K and AOS. For games of that scale, it totally makes sense. And games of that setting, it makes sense because like Space Marines have targeters in their helmets. Like Tau should know how far their rifle can shoot. I know they only have one eye in their helmet, but they should know, or they should have like that sort of stuff built into their systems. And in Age of Sigmar, it's fucking wizard magic. I know how far I can throw a fireball or whatever, but in Necromunda, you're a bunch of fucking yahoos, child soldiers using rusted scrap guns. Who knows if it's going to fire, let alone how far.
Right. And I do think that when it comes down to it, the answer to the question is, do more complex gaming systems allow for more narrative gameplay? I think the answer is mostly yes.
Right. And I think there is an exception to that, which is like, if you're putting together a big event game or something like that, you can tell a big story. But like Necromunda has that baked into the rules. Like you don't need to try to make a special narrative event for it. You don't need to do a narrative way to play. Like just regular Necromunda has that built into the rules.
Yeah. And listeners, if you think we're wrong on this one, or you have some examples you want to give, please let us know. contact@40kbadcast.com or hit us up on Twitter. We'd love to keep the conversation going with you. But okay, let's move on to our next segment, Campbell. And we are going to ask a simple question here. Mm-hmm. What Warhammer intellectual property would make a good show?
Base a series on Ian Watson's books, you cowards.
Biff, Tundrish, or Riot?
Biff, Tundrish, or the Inquisitor trilogy.
Okay, so the idea here is, like with Angels of Death, Games Workshop is doing a show. And we're thinking, what already exists that could be adapted really well into a show? And the first thing that came to my mind was not Eisenhorn.
Because they're already doing that.
Yeah. But I love Band of Brothers, the show. And I would love to see like a Band of Brothers version of Gaunt's Ghosts.
Yeah, I think that's one of the, I don't want to say most obvious, because I don't want to sound like I'm dunking on you here, but I think that's one of the best fits for the format.
I mean, it would be the fucking top of the mountain.
Well, like it largely is like influenced by the Sharps, like movie drama sort of things. And I even do picture Sean Bean in my head as Gaunt while I'm reading the books. So I feel like that sort of thing is very, it's a very natural fit. And
Okay.
the scale of the series is big picture, but the actual moments are pretty small. Like I just read Straight Silver, where like half the book is just a bunch of dudes in a abandoned mansion house, just kind of having interpersonal drama.
Right. Well, that's the thing. Like the books, Dan Abnett sort of came in. You can see him come into his own, like through the series, like where he really refines his writing style. Because the first couple of books are like very action heavy, and there's a bunch of stuff going on. And then as you get later into the books, there are a lot of them are these like little mini character studies.
Yeah.
Which can make for some good storytelling, and more importantly, not effects heavy storytelling.
That's the thing. Yeah.
Where you could save a couple of shekels on your VFX budget if you did it that way. But no, I'd love to see like the Gonsko story, because there's a bunch of those books that could be just cut out, and it would still be a fine, even great story.
Yeah, or cut down. Like I'm reading the omnibuses, and I feel like each omnibus is written to be kind of an arc, and I feel like you could have each one more or less be a season, because you could sum up most of those books in like 3 hour-long TV hours.
Well, that book that you referenced, where they're just like having struggles in the farmhouse, like that nothing happens in that book.
Yeah, the rest of it is...
They go to, I think it's called Axe Cardinal.
Yep, or Axe Cardinal. I don't really know how to pronounce it, but...
And they go there, and they participate in a trench war, and then they realize, like wait, this war is never going to end, and nobody's going to win. And then they get called out of that battle, and they leave.
Yeah.
And while it is an interesting book, and it's more about the characters than the story of the book itself, like... I mean, that can be compressed. that can be conflated with a different story. Those same interpersonal actions and stuff. You don't need to go to Axe Cardinal to get that shit going.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Also, is like those interpersonal moments. They just get more layered the longer it goes on, in a way that I think would work really well for television, because TV's got to keep hooking you, and it's got to continue hooking you. And when suddenly it's like, oh, things are looking kind of like the ghosts are doing okay. Who's this new guy, Elijah Koo? He looks like a nice fella, and you now have a new villain.
Koo or Q or however you want. I always said Q because there's CUU.
Yeah,
and that's in the word vacuum. So I said
he sucks
Q.
so much.
Oh God, he is. I love that character.
He's so evil, and not in like a mustache twirling like Chaos Lord way.
So hateful, and it's such good writing having him in the books, having one of your main bad guys be within the crowd of good guys the entire time.
Yeah, and everyone knows he's not a good guy, but they can't do anything about it because they haven't caught him doing anything. And like, there's a moment, I'm not going to spoil it, at the end of I think it is Straight Silver, where basically it reveals that he's okay, and my heart just dropped. And like, that doesn't happen too often when I'm reading, fucking pulp sci-fi novels.
Yeah, like he survived.
Yeah,
not like he's okay, like he's an okay dude.
No,
but like he survived a horrible thing, and you're just like, oh fuck, this guy again. I was reading, I was like, hell yeah, this guy's back.
Yeah,
I think that would be, for me, the ultimate expression of a cool Warhammer piece of media.
Yeah, well, it's a relatable aspect of the setting. It still has some of that Warhammer weirdness, like fucking space Imperial Germany in the book we've just been referencing, but it's without being like super over the top or hard to understand. It's mostly
and then the Blood Pact or the Sons of Sek though are just such horrifying enemies. And like if you have the campaign book like I do, the Sabbat Worlds campaign
jealous
book
of you for that one.
When you get over here from Nova, you'll check it out because dude. I've been like reading this, and the art is amazing. The backstory is amazing. There's so much material that exists for this story that if some aspiring screenwriter out there wanted to get after it, and make something like that, it would be very, very easy to do. And I think the most important part of it is it's not about Space Marines. It's about people.
Right. And it's against
Space Marines are hard. Like, honestly, Space Marines would be impossible for you and me to, one, understand, and two, relate to.
Yeah, and that's the challenge that any good writer has to take with Space Marines, is making them relatable, and they usually have to find it by doing something interesting with them. It can't just be big dude with big gun fight big monster with big sword or whatever.
Yeah, and Abnett does a really good job within the Gonskos universe when he's writing the Space Marines there to make them distant and they hold humans in contempt, and they are pretty much inhuman.
Yeah, absolutely. And you could have them show up once in a great while, like they do in the Gaunt's Ghost books, to be like a big deal sort of thing. Like, there's your effects budget for that episode. There's your Game of Thrones dragon. It's the Space Marine.
Oh my god, dude! Speaking of Game of Thrones, Gaunt's Ghost characters fucking die like it's going out of style.
Yeah, the worst thing is it takes a while, so you learn to like them, and you learn to like be like, oh, they're gonna be okay. They're the protagonists. Oh no!
I mean, you remember the outcry when spoilers for first season of Game of Thrones, I guess, when Sean Bean dies in the last episode, people lost their fucking minds.
Yeah, and it
was great.
God, or how many people had read like a few of the books, and like something called The Red Wedding coming up. You're gonna love it. You're really gonna love it.
God, yeah.
I didn't.
Oh man.
The only spoiler I had was Sean Bean died, because of course he fucking died. He dies twice in Goldeneye.
He has to.
It's what he does.
It's a rule.
It is a rule, which makes me worry about casting him as Gaunt. But anywho, he's too old to at this point, I think.
Okay, give me a suggestion here.
So like my obvious answer was also Gaunt's Ghost, which is why I think we talked about it for so long. But I really do think the Inquisitor trilogy would be really fun, because it has the requisite HBO horniness in it, and it would just be this
really horny,
trippy, unforgettable mess like Jodorowsky's Dune. Like I would be happy, and no one else would be happy, which makes it perfect television, obviously.
Of course, yes.
So I've only read the first book, and it was a page turner, I'll be honest, but it's so fucking strange. And I feel like that's how you go. I feel like that's how you sink the idea of a Warhammer TV show out the bat, is by being like, this cost $infinity million, and it's weird and unapproachable and strangely horny with the dildo towers of Slaanesh. Who investors? Anybody? Netflix? Hulu?
I feel like in the 1980s or 70s that could get made like a heavy metal.
Oh, dude, it would be like
movie.
It'd be like Zardoz, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think nowadays. No,
in this day and age, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending how you want to do it. No, again, my comparison to Jodorowsky's Dune seems pretty appropriate here. Now, I will say there is one I see come up a lot as a suggestion whenever this sort of thing is tossed around, which is a Horus Heresy series of films or shows or whatever, and I have thought since the very beginning, no, because here's how I feel about that idea. You can't see it, but I'm saluting right now for the duration of the flush.
Oh, fuck that, dude. I'm sorry.
As someone who like really likes most of the Heresy books I've read, of course I haven't read all of them because there's like 60 before the Siege of Terra. Even if you cut it down, like you still have 18 characters, like big superhuman characters that people are supposed to care about. Like this would take Marvel Cinematic Universe levels of coordination, planning, money, star power, etc. And that kind of cash is not going into a series of niche British science fiction serials, essentially.
Yeah,
like
this idea is making me nauseous.
It's too big for anything but books, unfortunately.
Yeah. Here's an idea for a cartoon.
Okay,
mind you.
All right, into it.
And it could even be like a serialized half-an-hour cartoon. I still think it would work really well. Caiaphas Cain.
That'd be fun. Do like a propaganda cartoon.
Because it's funny.
Yeah, it could look like those like World War II propaganda cartoons, but not racist.
Yeah, I think that Caiaphas Cain, like not necessarily a kids show, but like like a Rick and Morty level show where it's for adults, but it's still funny.
Especially if you had like again, I just think of David Tennant playing him just because of the sideburns, and I'm not even a Whomvian or whatever, but I'd be into that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think that would be. I actually see Caiaphas Cain reads as extremely American to me
because he's a coward.
Yeah, pretty much. Like but he's like hedonistic and cowardly, and there's just like he's got the chiseled jaw and he's big and muscular, and like that to me, like that reads as like very, very American.
Well, I don't know why. Well, the thing is, you're also picturing him based on the covers of the books, which are supposed to be like in-universe propaganda posters, which I think is again a very fun way to present this sort of story. And honestly, when I was reading the first first Caiaphas Cain book, it like the chapters felt so episodic. And
Yes.
in even the short stories are so much like feel kind of like in a way like a Flash Gordon serial sort of thing. Like I think that would apply very well to even just like 5-minute webtoon sort of things, because I know how expensive this shit is to make.
Yeah. Well, okay, so I have one more suggestion,
Okay.
but not for a show, for a movie.
All right.
I think you could make an actual really compelling feature-length film out of 15 hours.
Absolutely. It's so easy to understand.
And like the cool thing about 15 hours is at the end, it's over.
No sequel.
It would be a very, very, and it's extremely emotionally charged. And it's not just humans fighting evil humans. It's orcs involved, and everybody loves orcs.
Yeah.
But it like shows the true terror of what a fighting orcs would actually be like.
Yeah. That's true. It doesn't portray them in like a funny way, really. And I think, again, things being easy to understand for a new viewer is very important, which is why a story with like, oh, there's word bearers fighting blood angels, they're both giant dudes in red armor, I don't get the difference, isn't really great. But these big green monster dudes who speak like football hooligans and have welded together scrap guns versus these like actual army guys, I get that.
Yeah.
That makes sense
fun
to me. And now it's over. I feel really bad.
Hey, perfect for a film.
Absolutely. It's my favorite kind of movie.
I watched Midsummer the other night.
I have
The Ari Aster film. Ooh, that's a good one, bud.
I have checked
that's
it out.
a real good one.
I've checked it out from the library. The last movie I watched was one Detective Pikachu, which I would. Yeah, there's worse ways to spend 90 minutes.
Okay. All right. Well, let's move on to the marquee segment of the show, fact or fan fiction, where Campbell reads something he's found, and I have to decipher whether or not it is an actual Games Workshop licensed product or it is some dreck from the internet. So, Campbell, hit me, baby, one more time.
Eladars vary from how they act in war, some of them able to use magic and skillful in the arts of war. The Dark Eladars outnumbering us always about 9.5 billion warriors to about 10 million space marines. Yet somehow we win some of the most deadly battles and lose important ones too. My stories starts with my parents. Both were skilled at using magic and swordplay. These arts were handed down through my family, and they were a family secret. I didn't mention that am half Eldar, did I? But that comes later within my life, that I find that out. I'm half Dark Eladar. So my journey begins with this. Some of the battles I've been through were brutal and breathtaking, yet my squad always won a battle. Some of the wars, we were the key element to those battles. Now my squad is against the warp gods themselves. My squad was slaughtered by him. No one survived, except it for me. I only killed him through magic that target him. All the anger and rage by him killing my friends surged through me, and one single phrase came to me, and it was, Frosta vinder anthio brisingir, compress the air with fire. I fainted after that. 4 weeks later, I woke up to be staring at N female Dark Eladar, and all I would have said is, where am I? She smiled and said, You're on the last craft world of two nations. One is the Eladar, which are people like me, but of the light, and then there are the Dark Eladar, which are the people of shadows. What's your name then? And what exactly are your people going to make me do? Drago said. Absolutely nothing. And my name is Uriel. Drago, as in Cal. Absolutely nothing. And my name is Uriel. For you may stay and recover from whatever injury is you obtained from the rap god of regeneration.
The rap god?
WRAP. I'm just reading what's written here, man. I assume he's never fucking mind.
I thought it was like Dr. Dre.
No, it's not Dr. Dre. It's more like the Reynolds rap god of regeneration. For you can also learn of my people and continue to train, Uriel said. How come I can sense things such as your mind and the plants outside? I said. Uriel replays by this. You're starting to become immortal, and by gaining the magic from the god of regeneration through the 2 years of training and learning about my other half of my heritage, something odd will happen at the beginning of my 3rd year on the last craft world of the Eladars. by a premonition I had 5 weeks ago. I don't think that was all supposed to be by her, but there wasn't an end quote at the end of that first quote.
I hate this.
Well, that's good news because it's over.
All right, so that's clearly fan fiction because I have to imagine the Black Library editors would catch misspelled Eldar.
They're the Eladar. That's what they've been renamed to be more copyright friendly. Don't you know? It's in Psychic Awakening 34.
Oh my God. That's garbage.
That is, in fact, garbage. That is Dark Eladar's Paragraph Break Secret by Choass Wolf 90.
Choass Wolf.
Choass
Not Chaos Wolf, but Choass Wolf.
No, it is Choass Wolf. And I don't know if you caught this, but those that really cool Presta Vindir Ontir Besingir, it's actually from the fucking like not Dragon Riders of Perth, but the Inheritance Cycle.
I don't know what that means.
It's a bunch of fantasy books that this dude likes a bunch.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. So or not.
Well, thanks for that.
You're welcome.
That was, that's a few minutes of my life that I can't get back.
I'd say you're Aragon. It's Aragon. It's those books.
And I'll have to listen to it at least once more while I'm editing.
I'm so excited that you get to experience this twice. I've had this tab open on my browser for 2 weeks.
All right, gang. Let's do some plugs before we get out of here. I want to start by mentioning goonhammer.com, for which we both write. I do a weekly Necromunda column with our friend Jules. We just did a breakdown of Gene Stealer cults.
Hell yeah.
Which a lot of people were asking for because all the Gene Stealer cult players out there for 40K, hey, you've got a gang of Gene Stealer cultists somewhere in that army.
You're halfway there. Just play Necromunda with us. It's a lot of fun.
We also, write about hobby stuff. I've got a Road to Adepticon post that I'm working on right now. It's a great site, man. Yeah. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of good coverage out there.
Well, I don't just write for it because while I did recently write a Slaves to Darkness army overview for Goonhammer with LR, which was a lot of words, I'll be honest. I also did the video for the Letters from the LVO series of articles with Rob.
Ooh, yes, you did. What a good video that was.
Goonhammer's pivoting to video. You heard it here first.
All right. I also want to plug our email, contact@40kbadcast.com. It's the best way to contact us. It's right there in the name.
It is.
Send us questions for We Make the Call, please. Send us pictures of your models and your pets and your hobby stations and whatever the hell else you want. And, just get at us. Engage with us.
Yeah, we're always happy. I mean, we reply to almost every email we get. At least we try to. So.
You can also get at us at social media, various social media outlets. Well, just one for me. Twitter. I am at DB_sleazy. He is at Brother SRM. You're also on Tumblr.
At cam2d.tumblr.com.
There you go. And, you can go to these various websites and see our models and hear our thoughts. And you can read all of the retweets of the Consumer Safety Products Board that I do because I love that Twitter
I love
account.
that that's is that like government funded shit posting? Because I really like it.
It is. It's all about being safe and happy in your home.
Love it.
Very important stuff. And then you can waste your dollars, your hard-earned doll hairs on 40K Badcast merch at shop.spreadshirt./.
No, you fucked it up. It's .edu, obviously. It's shop.spreadshirt.com/40kbadcast, all one word. And you can get a whole bunch of t-shirts that we got there. We'll be adding more eventually. Every time I see Peter and Kat, they get on me for the same shirt idea that they've wanted me to make for a while. It will happen. I promise. It just hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, so shirts there. They're extremely flammable, and you can show your allegiance to a couple of morons on the internet to people who won't get it at shop.spreadshirt, blah, blah, blah.
We have
blah.
Team Sports and Team Anime shirts, not shorts yet, but so you can show your allegiance to just one idiot on the internet with those two shirts.
We got to get the ska versus metal shirts going.
We will. That's for Nova though, right?
Yeah, we got months.
Yeah, we got time. I got time to workshop these really good ideas. It's probably just gonna be a skanking orc or something like that. So We also do have a Patreon if you want to waste your money on a monthly recurring basis.
And your time.
Ooh, this is true because we don't just have a money pit for you to throw things into, but you get audio out of it. It's amazing. It's like magic. We do a bunch of bonus episodes. We're like, I don't even know how deep we are in it, but we've got like 14, 15, something like that. And we talk about all sorts of dumb shit. We saw the Cats movie recently, so you don't have to. I have had people suggest I put that out as a free episode, just as a public service, but for the time being, that's staying in the Patreon. So for $5 a month, you can listen to all sorts of bonus content, and for $6.90, the joke dollar amount of money, you can listen to worse content that we had on top of the rest. But also, one last thing, I recently did a giveaway on our Patreon for a copy of Warhammer Total War, which went to Stormlight the band, if I recall correctly. So I haven't done another giveaway since, but I think I might.
Does the whole band get to use that, or just one member?
I assume the whole band has one PC in their practice space, and they just all sit around watching each other play. It's actually very wholesome. It's like how we used to play, taking turns in Call of Duty when I was a kid. It was great.
Only the drummer gets to play.
He plays dwarves. He plays dwarves. It's not fun to watch.
Oh.
Ugh. But I think I'll do another giveaway at some point. That was a fun little thing to do. I've got more like random Warhammer CD keys lying around, so get at us on Patreon.
Dwarves was an extremely horny punk band from the 90s.
Oh, sorry. I just think of Sex Dwarf, which is what was that? Who fucking did that song? Soft Cell, I think.
This one's for the horn dogs.
I had to get in there.
You did have to get in there. I was surprised you didn't get in there earlier when we talked about little barefoot Slaughterface McGee, but I left a space for you and everything.
You don't always do it.
That's fair. If you did it every single time, we would just be, we would just become the morning drive time show that we know we're going to be eventually. So
eventually, but not yet. Okay, gang, that's it for us. We are the 40K Badcast. We are bad at 40K. Oh, wait. The quote. I caught myself this time.
Well, you tried to usurp my inspirational quote with the use of that extremely good button. So this one will be especially adept for you. Only fools fail in their duties.
Yeah, well, that's me. That's me, y'all. 40K Badcast, bad at 40K. You can too. And we'll see ya in the next cartoon.